in terms of what works well, it really depends these days very much on the platform that you're operating on. For example, on YouTube, longer videos seem to be doing much better now. Back in the day, it was like if your video was over 30 seconds or a minute, that's too long.
Welcome back to the Teach Traffic podcast with myself, Ilana Wexler. This is a show where we reveal the best tips, tricks and tactics to increasing your website traffic and then converting that traffic into leads and sales. We also discuss what's working right now in the ever-changing world of web marketing so you can apply it to your business. Welcome back to another episode of Teach Traffic. I'm your host, Ilana Wexler. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking all about video. And if you've had any experience with using video to promote your business, you will most likely know it's an incredibly powerful tool. Now, I'm not an expert in video, although I do quite a bit of video. So I've invited a guest called Gideon Shalwick, who has been in the video marketing space for a really long time. And we sort of delve into his background a little bit as well to talk about really the elements of a good video, the pitfalls that you should avoid making so you don't have a bad video, and really about what's working right now in the video marketing space. So definitely want to stick around for this episode. We'll make show notes available at teachtraffic.com, in the podcast section of our website. And let's get stuck in today's show. Welcome to today's episode of Teach Traffic. I'm really excited about this episode because I have a special guest called Gideon Shalwick. Have I pronounced that correctly? I'm sorry.
You sure did, yeah.
Awesome.
Great job, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. And I'm super excited to have you here because you may or may not know, but I've actually known about you for a really long time, and I've watched you over probably the last decade. Well, that's kind of when I first started online, and you've always been in video, and I guess you've stuck to your guns in that respect as to double downing on video. So I'm really keen to connect with you, number one, and number two, talk to you about video and importantly what's working right now in video as we approach 2020, which is pretty crazy. So and also about your business, which we're going to talk about as well. So before we kind of get stuck into all these elements, do you want to maybe give us a little bit of a background about who you are as a person? I know we all have crazy journeys.
Yes,
I certainly stumbled into this industry. That wasn't part of my life plan, but, such happens. So I'm always fascinated by people's journeys. So do you want to maybe just give a brief overview about you and your journey?
Yeah, sure. The rags to riches story, right? No, I was never in rags, so I'm all good. But yeah, basically about 14, 15 years ago, I still had a job. It's my last job that I had. And I felt that I needed a change. We were still in New Zealand at the time. And I remember telling my wife, I said, look, I don't want to work for someone else anymore. I want to start my own business. So let's apply for jobs in Australia, and then we can immigrate to Australia and then, start a whole new life there. That would be our ticket. So I started applying for jobs and 3 months later, I had a record 0 responses from people, from Australians, saying that they wanted to employ me, which was awesome. Which was very encouraging for me to become an entrepreneur. And so,
exactly.
So I told my wife, hey, look, maybe you should start applying for jobs. Basically, within a week, she got 3 job offers. And
wow.
She accepted one. A month later, we landed in Australia. I was jobless. She had a job. She was working and paying the bills while I was setting up the business and really just mucking around, trying to figure out what this business thing is. And so one of my first products was a book that I wrote, an ebook. Sold it online, did well for the first 2 weeks, and then ran out of traffic. Didn't know what the heck I was doing. Started interviewing people. I happened to interview people on video. This is back in 2007, right about there, when
wow.
video wasn't a thing yet, So then I learned the value of not trying not to be the pioneer, or it's not always a good thing being the pioneer, because it's really hard work. You've got to clear the forest, and oftentimes you're the guy or girl with the arrows in your back. So, but nonetheless, that's how I cut my teeth in the whole video game and learned from it. But still, it took me another 2 years after launching my first product or so before I had some real success. I teamed up with a friend of mine, Yaro Stark, whom I actually met through that interview series. And we did a project together called Become a Blogger. We launched that in 2008, around about there. And this thing just went crazy in comparison to what I was making. Like, I was making around about negative $1,000 at the time.
I love your honesty.
And so when we launched together, it was so interesting because there was a 6-month lead up to it where we published 10 free videos on another site. It wasn't even YouTube. It was like a site called blip.tv. So this is how far back it goes, right? YouTube wasn't even a thing yet, or at least YouTube was around, but the quality was so terrible, we decided to go with blip.tv. Anyway, Blip sent us a lot of attention right at the beginning. We had, like, if I remember right, it was around about 300,000 downloads of those 10 episodes before we launched. And so by the time we launched, people already knew about us. And within 2 weeks of launching, we had about 10,000 people join our email database. And within a month, we had a monthly income of about $23,000, around about there, which was, kind of life-changing compared to negative $1,000 a year.
Yeah. That is a rags to riches story.
Yeah, although we lived comfortably. I mean, I say that this kind of rags, but in a way, it was compared to what we had. Because I had a proper job and we were living well. And then when we emigrated, we had nothing. Like, we literally came with a mattress and my computer and our clothes. And during those first 2.5 years, there was really not much money coming in other than my wife's money. And we, most of that went to the rent and food, basically. So we didn't go out. We didn't buy clothes. We didn't have a car. I mean, if you say this in a third world country, they'll just laugh at you and say you're still living like a king, right? But so it wasn't really a big deal, but it was a big change from what we had. And then we did the Become a Blogger project. But just in terms of the ups and downs, that was really a really tough 2 years because the first beginning stages for me as an entrepreneur, it wasn't so rosy. I was a few times we were looking at each other, me and my wife, and going, what are we doing? Are we've thrown away our careers, or at least mine, and this is not really working out. Maybe we should go back, or maybe I should try and get a job again. But of course, no one wanted to employ me, so I had to make it work. Since then, I've just done project after project, all within the video space. Did a project in the magic niche. I teamed up with a local magician, JJ, and I did the video marketing. He did the magic. We launched it on YouTube. Eventually, that became the number one YouTube channel on YouTube for free magic tricks. I was only with that business for the first year, and then JJ ran it after that. Then I launched a program called Rapid Video Blogging in 2010, and teaching people about what I've learned about video and video marketing, and using that to grow your business. And that was really my last launch. And then our first daughter was born, and I realized I have got to make a change. Building these businesses that are built on my brain, and based on my brain basically, and the success was so dependent on just me. I realized that I needed to do something else. So I started building brands. That's when I created the original Splasheo, worked on it for about a year, and then got distracted with another software company called V-Roll. Did that for about 4 or 5 years. And then just earlier this year, about a year ago, I exited that company and back onto Splasheo again. And Splasheo now is all about captioning people's videos and turning it into a social media friendly format, ready to publish and ready to for you to impact the world with your amazing message.
Yeah, wow, that's quite the journey. And I'm sure you have seen a massive progression from when you started with video to now. Can we maybe sort of dive in a little bit on, I guess, you would have an amazing exposure to a wide range of type of videos over the years, and also what's working right now. So do you want to touch on the kinds of videos that you see working now, be it the format, face to camera, kind of, I guess the elements of a really good and engaging video, because I know firsthand having a good video, it's worth its weight in gold. I mean, and you can keep using that video over and over again, but there is an art and a science to it as well. So I'm not a video expert, which is why I've got you on today's show.
Right.
So do you want to maybe touch on, some of the kinds of the elements of a good video?
Sure. I guess it goes without saying before I dig into it that video is just such an amazing medium for building connection. There's nothing really better online at the moment for building a really strong connection with your prospects, right, and your clients. So that's why I love it so much, because it's almost as good as being there in person. So if you can get to the point where you can create video where it almost feels like your audience feels like you're in the room there with them, talking to them. I mean, that's the kind of what you're aiming for here. It's not so much going for the sale, although that obviously can work really well too. But we all know that people do business with other people they like, know, and trust, right? And so video is a fantastic vehicle for that. Now, in terms of what works well, it really depends these days very much on the platform that you're operating on. For example, on YouTube, longer videos seem to be doing much better now. Back in the day, it was like if your video was over 30 seconds or a minute, that's too long to be able to make it go viral. But then YouTube changed, of course, a few years back, and they started rewarding watch time and session time. Mm-hmm. So people started creating more valuable content, and the videos started getting longer. So now, from what I hear and understand, it's around about 12 to 15 minutes is a good length video. And so when your video is longer, obviously you got to think a bit more about how do you make that engaging, and how do you get it, how do you create it in such a way that people will want to watch the whole thing and right through as well. If you're on a place like Facebook, total different ball game again, because Facebook is, it's much faster paced sort of thing. It's maybe a lot more, I don't know, I don't want to use negative words here too much, but there's certainly it's a different kind of conversation on Facebook than say on YouTube. But on Facebook, maybe it's a bit more snappy, that sort of thing, and shorter in general. But it depends again there on what strategy you want to use on that platform. So, for example, if you just want to get the views, then obviously you want to go shorter. If you want to build engagement and you want to build remarketing list, if you want to combine it with an advertising strategy, longer videos can work really well. Say, for example, if you've got a 10-minute long video and you're running ads to that video and you're building a remarketing list based on the views of that video, if you can build a list based on people who watched 80 to 90% of that video, that's going to be a very, very valuable list of people that you can then run other ads to. So again, it depends a bit on the strategy there, but also the platform. Then a place like LinkedIn, for example, it's so exciting for me. It's a very, very exciting platform for me because the video game and the feed thing is still very new. I think video's only been there maybe 2 years, if that much. Mm-hmm. And I just saw earlier today that I think it's only 1% of people who are on LinkedIn at the moment are publishing content regularly, which spells massive opportunity in terms of growth. So, and it's an exciting platform. It's still very, very new and young, and it's still got to grow in many aspects in terms of features and stuff like that. But in terms of getting engagement there, I've seen nothing else better. It's incredible. So there you want to have shorter videos again, like 2 minutes max. You can have longer ones again, depending on how engaged your audience is. But shorter videos in general seem to do better there because again, you're dealing with a scroll and a feed thing. And people are busy, and you don't have all that much time to engage people and to get them to watch your content. So yeah, it depends a bit on the platform as to how you treat it in terms of the length of content, the kind of content, and also the different kind of strategies that you want to have. So it's no longer just a one size fits all. You've really got to design your content, your video content specifically for the platform.
I heard a statistic, and we all know statistics lie, and I definitely don't have the source of the statistic, but that the average watch time of a video on Facebook is 2 to 3 minutes, but on YouTube it's 40 minutes, which right. is, I guess, in line and consistent with what you're saying. What are your views on Instagram? Do you think it's the same as Facebook in terms of watch time, or from what you've seen, or
Yeah. So okay. So there's probably a difference. Two things to note here. There's watch time and then there's session time, right? So the watch time is how long people watch your particular video for, and then session time is basically how long people stay on the platform as a result of watching your video, or just in general. So it depends a bit on how that's defined. So on Instagram, up until recently, the videos were only like 1 minute long, right? So the longest watch time you could have was 1 minute. But then, they've introduced IGTV, which now allows you to have much longer videos, much longer videos. And so which means you can have, longer watch and session time then as well, I suppose. I'm not an expert on Instagram or IGTV, but I have seen certainly a lot of our users jump on that a lot more now, especially with the what do you call it, the portrait format, and getting it optimized for IGTV in particular. So because the first minute still previews as if it's an Instagram video on Instagram, and then people can click through and watch the longer video. So I'm not familiar with the stats at the moment in terms of what the watch time and session times are on Instagram, but I would say something like IGTV would definitely have improved that quite a bit recently. Yeah.
Can we sort of go a bit deeper into the elements of a good video, be it, face to camera versus, text on a screen, just, perhaps audio that's turned into a video. I guess if you could break, like almost storyboarding, like are there certain, is the first 10 seconds crucial to hook people in, like kind of those kind of elements? Yeah. Is there a bit of an art and a science to those elements?
Absolutely. And again, it comes down to which platform you're optimizing this for. So in general, if we could exclude YouTube now from this part of the discussion, in general, for all the other platforms, there's the scrolling effect. The scrolling effect and people watching content on silent play. On YouTube, is not as much of an issue because from what I understand, is people actually, they don't go there to watch it in silent. They go there for the experience and they actually want the sound on. So oftentimes, people would, maybe they'll scroll on their home feed, but then they'll actually click on it and watch it. Whereas with most of the other platforms like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, maybe even Twitter to a certain degree, on those platforms, people watch it on silent. They watch the video content on silent. I think Facebook had a stat recently. Actually, I don't think it's definitely. Facebook had a stat on this recently. 85% of people watch their video content on silent mode. Now,
85%, that's huge.
Yeah, it's huge, right? And it makes sense. I mean, I watch most of my content on Facebook on silent as well. And purely because of the scrolling effect that, in the feed, like there's always something new. And I don't want to press play all the time. I want to quickly see on silent play whether I actually want to engage with this content or not. So you've got a very short time frame to grab people's attention on these auto silent play platforms. Let's call them that. So, and it's the same for Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Let's talk about those three big ones. And so you've got to do something to get people in. And so the best way we found so far is essentially with captions. Captioning your videos so that people can read your videos instead of watch them. But then also wrapping it in what we just call an engaging format, where you basically have something like a headline, a visual headline that people can see above the video, then your video content and the captions down below. So the headline is designed to stop people in their tracks when they're scrolling, and to make them, to qualify them, and to make them ask themselves the questions whether they actually want to watch that video or not. With a headline, you can achieve that within 2 or 3 seconds. Then with the captions, that's designed to draw people in and engage them even more, because then they can, if they've been sort of sold on the headline and the topic of the video, when they start reading the captions, maybe they'll read that for another 30 seconds, or maybe they'll read that for the whole video. They might never actually play on it, because through the captions you can consume all the content, or the mental content, I guess you could say, because you can read the whole thing, and that way, when you do that, you can massively increase the engagement. We are regularly seeing people getting. I want to be careful here with how I phrase this, but because we have some people coming to us and saying they're getting like a 3 times increase on views and engagement on their videos when they start using our service. And our service, all we basically do is we take your video and basically we transcribe it manually, burn the captions into your video so people can't turn it off, and then also allow you to add your own headline and your own branding and this sort of stuff. So that when you publish it on social media, people can immediately, get attracted to it and then get engaged as well. And just doing that, not changing the content at all, gives them that sort of improvement, which is incredible, So, and oftentimes some of these videos hardly have any editing in them to start off with anyway. It's just basically a talking head video of someone talking about a certain topic, and then it's just well captioned and well framed, and that makes all the difference.
Interesting. Okay, so we've got shorter style videos, captions with a headline, and face to camera. Are there any other elements you think, or is it pretty just as simple as that?
No, there's lots of things you can do. The core idea or the core thing to get right is your the message, basically your content, right? So if you've got the wrong kind of content that doesn't appeal to your audience, then it doesn't matter all that much what you're going to do to help get more views and get more engagement, right? It's just you've got to make it exciting and interesting for your target audience. So, and that very much comes down to the topic that you're talking about on your video. So make sure you get that right. And for you to be able to get that right, you got to really understand your audience. You got to know what it is that they want, know what it is what they want to consume, how they want to consume it, and how they want to interact with you. And you might not figure this out on day one. You might only figure this out on day 60 or whatever, as you create more content. So it's an iterative process.
Is it the kind of thing that you would almost call out your target audience from the outset, or call it, like, mention the topic straight away rather than sort of rambling on, just sort of pre-qualifying people from the outset?
You can, and you can do that with your headline as well. Just with your headline, right. you can immediately do that. Call out the right audience and on the topic what the video is about. And that can often do that in just 3 seconds. But then you can also do it within the video as well. I mean, what's popular these days is it's actually been popular for a long time, but basically, people like Gary Vee is making it a bit more popular. But where you take a content, like a long form content piece, but then have snippets out of that longer form content piece. And then within the snippet, that's what you publish this snippet on social media and in this sort of format. But then you take a little piece out from the middle or somewhere within the video and move it out to the front, which is then called the hook. And it's often a little piece that's maybe controversial, or that's the core message, that you bring out right to the front. It's only a few seconds, and then it moves into the rest of the content. So
like a preview.
Like a preview, absolutely. Kind of like, it's called the Zeigarnik effect, where you open up loops. Bluma Zeigarnik was a Russian psychologist in the 1800s, and she figured out if you introduce suspense she figured out if she introduced suspense in her lessons, then her students would pay more attention, right? So movie makers, TV series producers, they've all been using this, where they open up loops right at the beginning, throughout the episode, but then also at the end where they have cliffhangers, right? So there's open loops all the time, and then closing them throughout the video or the episode or the next video or episode. So there's a lot you can do with that to engage your audience. So okay, let's just take it back. So starting off with grabbing people's attention right at the beginning, opening up some kind of a loop, either by pulling in that hook in from somewhere in the video to the beginning, or just starting your video with a question or with something that intrigues people and make them go, this is interesting, I want to keep watching. And oftentimes, probably most often, it's going to be by opening a loop, some kind of a loop that you only close later on in the video. A lot of people then use something like a little logo sting, after they've got the hook, just for a bit of branding. For those, you got to keep it really short, like half a second, is long enough almost. 3 seconds is almost too long these days. 5 seconds is definitely too long for at the front of your video. So you want to have it, nice and short and snappy. Take a look at what Gary Vee does, or Kuru and Ray here in Australia. He does that as well. It's like a quick little bloop, thingy with their logo, and then the rest of the content continues. And then there's the meat of your content, and there's different ways of structuring that depending on how you create it. And then you basically oftentimes end with some sort of a call to action, with the the strategy we normally use, we don't really have a call to action, because it's more about building the relationship and building the audience, and then you do your call to action at a later stage when they're deeper down the funnel. So oftentimes we might just have the content, and the call to action might be something as simple as, hey, do you like this? Share this with someone else, or leave a comment. There's no specific call to action to get a lead magnet or anything like that. It's really just designed to build a relationship and build the audience.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, were you going to say something else?
Well, there's a lot more. I'm not sure. You have to tell me where to stop. But I mean, there's things like hygiene factors for your video, for example, where there are things that people notice if it's not there. So, for example, if you don't have the right kind of lighting in your video, people notice it and go, oh, that video looks a bit pixelated or something. Or if your background is messy, people notice it, right? So it's lacking, it's missing a clean background. Or a very important one, probably the most important one, is audio. If you don't have good audio, people notice it. And you don't want people to notice stuff too much, that kind of stuff in your videos.
You don't need to notice bad stuff.
No, exactly. It's almost like, walking into a house and the house is really messy, like you notice it. You notice the dust on the house, on the ceiling, on the, the rail, or I don't know.
Clearly they don't have children.
Right, but you get someone without children walking into your house, they fall over the implements and they go, "Oh, this place is a mess." Yeah. And you don't generally notice a clean house as much unless it's your own house, right? And you had to clean it yourself. But but that's why they're called hygiene factors. So there's a certain few things you got to get right. Another one is, for example, the framing. Just if you're, for example, too low in the video, or too high, or part of your head is cut off, or you're too far to the side or something, that's also something that people will notice, and in a bad way, and that can distract from the quality of your video.
I mean, as you're talking about all these things that you can do wrong, I can imagine, these are the objections that people go on in their head of why they don't do video, because it's like, oh, the lighting's not right, and, they can't get all the elements right. So for the people of the world who are not really doing much video, and I think it's probably more people than we think, the people who want to do it and just for whatever reason their mental hurdles they can't get over, what would you say what's the best way for those kinds of people to get started, like in terms of even equipment? I mean, I know we're all got basically the most amazing cameras in our pockets these days, and it's never almost been easier to get started with video. So what are some of the best ways that you think people can get started and get some traction with video?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the first thing to realize is that we all have a fear of being rejected at some point by someone. It's not a unique thing. So if you have any kind of fear about being on camera and being seen and possibly getting ridiculed or whatever else, it's pretty normal. Just get over it. That's part of the game.
If only it was that easy.
Yeah, it is that easy. It's just to get over it and to realize that you are your own worst critic. No one else really gives a damn. They all just give a damn about themselves and how they look themselves. They don't really care about what you look like. And in general, people are quite forgiving, in terms of what the video quality might look like or the audio quality.
But are there certain apps that you think are a really good starting point for people to use? More also, I know you, and we're going to get into now, let's say, with your service business, that you do the whole post-production element of it. So maybe we can sort of talk a little bit about, I guess, people send you a raw file. Is it as simple as that? And then that's all they need to do in terms of getting, the output kind of social media ready as such.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, to give you an example, and this is someone who is an experienced business person, and you'd think that if they wanted to, they could up their game with the video production side, right? So his name is John Lee Dumas. Some of you might know John. So he's one of our users for Splasheo. So what he does is he records on his phone. I'm pretty sure it's an iPhone, a little 1-minute video clips. And I don't think he even uses a fancy app. He just uses the normal phone camera app that comes with your phone. Records them. And then gets them onto his computer, I'm guessing, and then into Dropbox, and then he sends us a Dropbox link. Basically, he submits as part of our submission form. You just submit a Dropbox link, and that's all that he does. He doesn't even do any editing on his phone. Like, he doesn't even take out any front bits or back bits. He doesn't do any trimming. He just literally gives us the raw file, and then we take it from there. So we don't do like proper video editing in a traditional sense, but on purpose, because we find that's actually quite distracting for when people are reading the captions. They don't want to see lots of movement too much in the video. They want to just read the captions. So these talking head kind of videos where it's basically just you on camera, kind of like we are now, they can work really, really well. And it can be really as simple as that. I mean, and John, he publishes a video every single day.
Wow.
He's got a video every single day on Instagram, in all his social media platforms. It's just incredible. And, I'm just looking at that, I'm going, if, he uses that on purpose. He keeps it that simple on purpose. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to do it every day. And he's building significant traction on that, especially on his Instagram page. If you want to go there, you can check out the videos we've made for him and the sort of views and comments that he's getting from his daily videos. But the message here is that is just to keep it simple. I mean, he's literally using his phone, and that's it. I don't even know if he's using a fancy microphone to go with it, because he's close enough to the phone to record good audio.
So that's kind of where I'm going with this question, in terms of getting started. Like, is the camera app that comes inbuilt with your iPhone, if you've got an iPhone, sufficient? And is that microphone that comes without, do you need a special microphone? But I guess you're saying no, you don't.
You don't really know. Like, it depends a bit on your environment where you're recording. If you're in a room or an office where there's no other background noises, then you're probably going to be fine with just the microphone on your phone. Depends probably a bit on your phone too, but these days all the new phones have great microphones. You can be, if you're just relatively close to it still, it'll pick up on the sound just fine. There are other things you can get. For example, not sure if I've got it here. I want to show you this one. So this is a Video Mic Me microphone, and it just plugs straight into your phone, your iPhone, and it's a little, what do you call it? A little
it's not a USB, I guess it's whatever.
No,
iPhone connector.
Yeah, it's got an iPhone connector. That's right. So it plugs straight into your phone, and you're ready to go, and it just improves the quality of the audio a little bit. There's other sort of microphones you can get for with a lapel mic that also can go into your phone, even wireless ones around from Rode microphones as well. There's a whole bunch, but I mean the key thing is to not let anything hold you back for getting your message out there, especially at the beginning, and because you just want to get the messages out there so that you can start seeing what people respond to and then learn from it. I mean, if you're starting out with this, the most important thing is becoming comfortable with yourself being on camera, and that's probably the most important lesson that you'll learn for your first few videos. It's not going to be about building an audience or even learning about what your audience truly wants. It's going to be about you becoming comfortable with being on camera. Another really cool shortcut, if you don't like the camera idea, is to basically do what me and you are doing here right now. I mean, we've got a Skype conversation. It's getting recorded. We're just having a chat. There's no script or anything funny like that. And we're able to have an intelligent conversation and talk about.
Let's hope.
Hopefully useful topics, right? That can then be used for little video clips afterwards. The whole thing is recorded. I mean, I told you before this call, I'm recording it so that afterward we could chop it up into small little bits, and then we publish that to our social media channel. So it can be as easy as that. And I mean, it's either Skype or Zoom. It can be really, really easy to create this content without too much trouble.
Yeah, right. Interesting. So let's talk a little bit about your business, Splasheo, which, as you said, is the service to make these videos. But what I'm interested in is, and I hope it's okay with you, and please feel free to say no, is just to pull back the curtain a little bit to how you've built that business and your traffic strategy, because this podcast, we talk all about traffic and traffic generating strategies, and I'm sure you would be using video to promote so I guess maybe can you touch on certain traffic strategies that have worked well to grow your business, because I'm sure if it's grown your business, then it could probably inspire and help other people in obviously a different business but their own business.
For sure. I've been at it now for 14 years, all up as an entrepreneur, and I've started many different businesses over that time, or business ideas, put it that way. I've had a few companies that I've started up as well throughout the years, and I can honestly say that I don't think there is a holy grail and one answer for anything when it comes to traffic. And even to this day with Splasheo now, there's still a bunch of trial and error that happens for us to find out what are the best methods for us to promote. But one thing I will say, and I think this transcends any traffic generation strategy for any business, and that is, if you don't have the right product at the right time for the right people, it doesn't matter what traffic generation strategy you use.
Absolutely.
You got to have something that people actually want at that specific time. And if you look at the number one reason why startups fail, the number one reason is because startups create products that nobody wants.
Yeah.
And so if you layer on a traffic generation strategy on top of a product that nobody wants, then it's just not going to work, and you're gonna get totally frustrated. And Splasheo to me is a really good example of that, because with some previous businesses I've had, they weren't as well aligned with having the right product at the right time for the right people, right? And so we would have to really go out and search for these traffic strategies to help us grow, and it'd be awfully frustrating. Whereas with Splasheo, it's been really interesting. Certainly in the first quarter of this year, which is, we just started, trading basically end of last year, so it's only been about a year now. But
really,
well, for this new version of the business, the previous version of Splasheo was started 6 or 7 years ago, but I left that in the back burner while I was working on V-Roll. I didn't touch it for like 4 or 5 years.
Right.
So what you see now is a total pivot. We completely pivoted the business. Yeah. So we essentially started from scratch. So in a way, it's like a startup. So we basically started about a year ago. In our first quarter, most of it was organic, word of mouth sort of growth. We didn't do any ads or anything like that. There was a lot of, some influencers used us a little bit and maybe talked about it, but certainly the majority of our sales came from word of mouth. Quarter two, we started experimenting with ads a little bit, and that definitely brought us a lot of sales, Facebook ads in particular. And then quarter three, we started a bit more of a content generation strategy, mainly on LinkedIn. And that remains to be seen whether, we're not tracking it as well on LinkedIn because it's a different kind of a game there. I probably should do a better job with that. But I suspect that eventually will bring us more traffic and sales as well. But it's been very simple, to be honest. It's been extremely simple. It's been word of mouth, a bit of Facebook ads traffic, and then the organic stuff through LinkedIn, and not much else. So, but I think a part of the key to our success so far has been because we have a product that people actually want, and they want it, now. It's not like we don't have to educate them about it. We don't have to educate them about the use of captions or getting it into the right format for social media. They already want it. And we're just saying, the demand already exists, and we're just redirecting that demand onto our product and service.
And I would imagine an influencer like Gary Vee, for example, who is such a prolific content creator and does the captions as well, would almost be a brand ambassador for you to some degree, in terms of creating that desire of, hang on a minute, I'm watching him create content like this. I want to do that. How can I simply and easily find a way to pump out content maybe one day you can thank him.
He's not one of our users just yet. But it would be great. It would be great to have Gary on board, or other folks like Kerwin, because obviously they'll help spread the word a lot faster. There's many different options around. There's software options around, like dedicated software that's specifically designed for creating video captions. Then there's more advanced software where you do a few things together, like Adobe Premiere or After Effects, and I can't remember the Apple one. Anyway, a Final Cut, right? But and they're a bit more advanced, and you can do more fancy stuff. And then there's the other option of just getting someone else to do it for you. And so that's where Splasheo sits. We're saying, okay, we get it. We know that you can probably figure it out to do it yourself or use software, but we're saying, hey, let us just do it for you, save you a ton of time, and then you can spend your time on being awesome and creating the content, as opposed to getting stuck with the editing or trying to figure out the captions. So we're for people who don't want to do it themselves and appreciate the value of their time.
Yeah, fair enough. Cool. Well, I mean, I think we've covered some really critical elements in today's episode. So thank you so much for coming on. And where is the best place that people can find out more about you? And I believe you've got a special offer for listeners of this show as well.
Yeah, sure. I think if people want to connect with me, happy to connect with you on LinkedIn. Just send me a request, a connection request on there, and just remind me that you watched this episode so that I know who you are. And happy to connect and have a chat. I love LinkedIn at the moment. I think it's for me, it's the number one social media platform in terms of engagement.
I'm enjoying it too.
Yeah,
I'm enjoying it too, actually. Yeah.
And then yes, we have a very special little page that we've put together. Where you can get your first 4 videos done for free. And so just keep in mind, it's not software that you sign up for. It's all done manually. We've got 4 people working on every video that comes through the system. The first person transcribes it. The second person reviews the transcription. Third person does the video editing, puts it all together. Fourth person does a final review. And if it's ready, they send it out to the customer or the client. So it's all done manually. You get your first 4 videos done manually. First 4 videos done for free, and you can grab that at splasheo.com/teach traffic. So Splasheo is just splasheo.com/teach traffic.
Awesome. Too easy. Well, thank you so much. I've certainly picked up a few tidbits of what I'm going to do for my videos. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure connecting with you, and thank you so much for your time.
You're very welcome, and thank you for your time and the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks so much for listening to the Teach Traffic podcast. For more information on each of these episodes and handy PDFs that you can download, head on over to teachtraffic.com.